So when you look at these news items and you see the RIAA and MPAA going after people who have never owned a computer before or are deceased, what that shows is a gross abuse of copyright power in this country and an inability to recognize what the real problems are. So today, I hope to convince you that the RIAA and MPAA should not be pursuing aggressive copyright law and should instead be looking internally for solutions to these perceived problems. And we're going to do that by looking at the causes of not the causes. We're going to look at what we are, but the causes, not the causes. We're going to be looking at the problems inherent with these policies that they currently have. We're going to be looking at what causes these problems and misinformed stances. And finally, we'll be looking at what you can do to alleviate these issues. So, the first problem with aggressive copyright law that I see is that it's highly hypocritical. According to somebody, a copyright lawyer who used to work in Hollywood, his name's Richmond, in his article, How Hollywood's Pirates Must Inform Copyright Infringement Policy and Copy Culture, he said that his experience in Hollywood was that studios would teach you day one how to illegally rip, under current law, illegally rip DVDs, and they'd ask you to do that on a daily basis. The purpose was to distribute these amongst their colleagues and say, here, take a look at this movie. This is the director who's going to be doing this upcoming project. What do you think of his work? So if Hollywood thinks that they can do this and copy movies like this, which technically is illegal, then why shouldn't we be able to? The other problem with this is that their rationale for why they need aggressive legislature like previously SOPA and PIPA and now CISPA is that it's killing sales and it's killing the industry, which is weird if you look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which shows you that employment in these industries is at an all-time high. So I don't see an industry in crisis. Okay, what causes this stance is at its core a fundamental lack of understanding about technology, which is kind of ironic considering that they seem to know their way around a computer, at least insofar as copying movies and music within their own industries. This isn't news, though. In fact, when the VCR was emerging and VHS was emerging, they fought, the MPAA and TV executives fought in Congress, in the courts, against this, saying that it would lead to rampant copyright infringement. And the same thing happened with cassette tapes and people saying that it'll lead to piracy by copying straight off the radio. And it took Fred Rogers going down and arguing that he was okay with people recording his television program because it gave kids a chance that couldn't maybe watch Mr. Rogers when it was airing, the opportunity to see it later. And that is what eventually shaped the policy in this country, thankfully. However, so that shows you that this isn't a new thing. Whenever there's a new revenue stream available to these people, they don't see it as such. They see it as another opportunity for customers to try to, or consumers to try to circumvent them and obtain access to content without paying for it, which you might say is a valid complaint, until you consider the fact that according to studies done by Cantor Media in their copyright tracker benchmark study that they did earlier this year, or last year rather, and this year's study entitled Copy Culture in the US and Germany, which is what this chart is a part of, which was conducted by two guys, Karaganis and Rankama, for the American Assembly. Both of these studies, and basically every study that wasn't commissioned by the industries themselves, shows you that the best customers are often the pirates. If you can't make heads or tails of this graph, I don't really blame you, but the darkest sections of these bars are music files that these groups bought. The smaller bars in each case are the people who did not engage in any illegal file sharing, and the larger bars are people who have engaged in illegal file sharing. But those dark bars are, the dark sections of those bars are just what they bought. And in both cases, in both countries, those who share files are more likely to purchase them, which seems to run contrary to what these industries will have you believe. And that's also down to bad data. In fact, there was a study that I saw that just came out very recently, which just had all kinds of bad, misinformed data in it, which found something like Atlanta was the world's biggest city for piracy, which then other studies have been in line with these findings, but they try to spin it and say, well, if these people weren't illegally file sharing, look at all those sales we're losing. When those sales might not translate into purchases at all, they might instead translate into no sales at all, because they ignore the 50% of people who don't spend any money. So what can you do? Well, in terms of movies, I don't really have an answer at a personal level, because the movie industry currently doesn't really have a way for you to access these things legally online. So I don't know what to tell you. Musically, though, there are great sites like Bandcamp, which try to cut out the record label, at least the big record labels, and support the artist directly. At a local level, it's the best I can do. On a national level, you can tell your congressman that you don't support CISPA, which has resisted all attempts at amendments to protect privacy and would give corporations unprecedented control over what heck goes on the internet. So, in conclusion, I hope this puts piracy in a different light for you, if maybe you thought that all pirates are criminals and hackers. And hopefully, on the internet, you're not afraid to try before you buy. But if you do like it, please do buy and support the people who make what you care about. Thank you.